Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The night was quiet, almost too quiet. I lay in bed, half awake, when I heard the softest knock, so delicate it almost melted into the silence. Before I could respond, the door creaked open. She slipped inside, careful, like every step was a secret meant only for me. The faint glow from the hallway brushed across her face, catching the curve of her lips, the glimmer in her eyes. My heartbeat jumped, quick and uneven, as she moved closer. I could hear the whisper of her breathing, slow and controlled, but I could tell she was nervous too. "Couldn't sleep," she whispered, her voice low, almost teasing. I swallowed hard, nodding before I could find words. She sat at the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under her weight, and the warmth of her presence wrapped around me instantly. For a moment, we didn't say anything. It was just silence, thick, heavy, and charged with something unspoken. Then her hand brushed mine. Not accidental. Not casual. My skin tingled where her fingertips lingered, soft and deliberate. I turned my head, and she was already watching me. Her gaze locked onto mine, steady and intense, like she was daring me to look away first. I didn't. The air between us grew heavier, almost electric. She smiled, a small, knowing smile, like she understood every thought running wild in my head. My chest rose and fell too fast, betraying the calm I tried to keep. "Relax," she whispered again, though her voice carried more meaning than the word itself. Her hand lingered just a little longer before she pulled it back slowly, teasing, as if testing how far the moment could stretch. And then, she leaned closer. The scent of her perfume, a soft, sweet, and warm, wrapped around me. The distance between us shrank until every breath felt shared. And just when I thought something might happen, something we could never take back, we both froze. A sound from the other room. His voice. My father's voice. Her eyes widened for a split second, then narrowed into a daring glint. She pressed a finger lightly to her lips, signaling me to stay silent. My pulse thundered in my ears, the weight of the secret already pressing down on us. And then, with a look that promised more than words ever could, she slid under the covers beside me. She lay beside me, and suddenly the silence felt louder than anything I'd ever heard. The warmth of her body close to mine was overwhelming, yet there was a sadness hidden in her eyes, one that I'd noticed before but never dared to question. Tonight, though, it was impossible to ignore. Our family had always looked perfect on the outside, laughter at the dinner table, weekend trips, the kind of smiles that could convince anyone that nothing was wrong. But behind those smiles were cracks, the kind that only show when no one else is watching. I had seen the way she glanced at my father when she thought no one was paying attention, the absence of spark, the distance in her gaze. They lived together, but it felt more like two people coexisting than sharing a life. And now, lying here, that emptiness seemed to spill into the room. She didn't speak right away. Instead, she reached up, brushing a strand of hair from my face with a tenderness that made my chest tighten. Her hand lingered longer than it should have, and in that quiet, the truth hung heavy. She was searching for something. Maybe comfort. Maybe connection. Maybe something she hadn't felt in years. "I don't sleep well anymore," she said softly, her voice a mix of honesty and hesitation. "Not in that room. Not with him so close, yet so far away." Her confession lingered between us, and I felt my heartbeat quicken. I wanted to ask more, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I found myself staring into her eyes, where vulnerability and strength coexisted, tangled together like secrets waiting to be unraveled. She smiled faintly, but it was the kind of smile that tried to hide pain. "You notice things, don't you?" she whispered. "Things others ignore." I nodded, unable to look away. It was then that she reached for my hand again. The touch was gentle, almost hesitant, but the effect was anything but. My entire body went still, awareness flooding every nerve. For a moment, I thought she might pull away, but she didn't. Instead, her thumb traced lightly over my skin, slow, deliberate, as if memorizing me. The room felt smaller, the space between us dissolving into something dangerous yet irresistible. My chest tightened, every breath louder in my own ears. She leaned closer, not enough to close the distance completely, but enough to blur the lines of what should be and what already was. And then, she looked away, pulling back just slightly, her face shadowed with conflict. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, almost to herself. But she didn't move. She stayed. Her presence lingered like gravity, impossible to escape. The tension was unbearable, the air thick with everything unspoken. And just when I thought I couldn't stand the silence any longer, she turned her head back, her eyes searching mine for something, permission, maybe, or understanding. That's when I knew, this wasn't just about loneliness. It was about something deeper. Something dangerous. Something neither of us could admit aloud. The air felt heavier the longer she stayed beside me. Every second stretched, pulling me into a space where time didn't exist, just her presence, her warmth, and the storm inside me. She shifted slightly, turning on her side to face me fully. The closeness made my breath catch, our faces separated by only inches. Her eyes studied me, lingering with an intensity that left me trembling. "You don't realize," she whispered, "how hard it is to resist you." The words slipped out before she seemed to realize their weight, and immediately her lips pressed together, like she wanted to take them back. But she didn't. The silence after her confession burned, hotter than any touch. My pulse raced, and I felt jealousy twist unexpectedly inside me, jealousy of the life she pretended to have with him, my father, while giving me this side of her no one else could see. I wanted more of it. I wanted all of it. I turned toward her, mirroring her closeness, and for a moment our noses nearly touched. The temptation was unbearable. She glanced at my lips, then quickly back to my eyes, the conflict written all over her face. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said, but her voice cracked under the weight of her own desire. "Then stop looking back," I whispered, surprising myself. Her breath hitched. The tension between us was sharp now, dangerous and thrilling, like standing on the edge of something we couldn't undo. She reached out again, her fingers grazing my jawline this time, a touch far bolder than before. My skin burned under her fingertips, and the air between us snapped with electricity. From the other room came the faint sound of movement, his movement, reminding us of the forbidden line we were crossing. Her hand froze, but she didn't pull away. Instead, her eyes darkened, full of longing and defiance. "We're playing with fire," she murmured, but her touch only pressed deeper, her thumb brushing against my cheek as if daring fate itself. And in that instant, I realized she wasn't going to stop. And neither was I. The night dragged deeper into silence, the house still and heavy with secrets. She hadn't left my room. Instead, she stood near the window now, the moonlight painting her silhouette in silver. I couldn't take my eyes off her, the way she looked both restless and certain, like she was battling something too powerful to ignore. When she finally turned back to me, the look in her eyes stole my breath. There was no hiding anymore, no mask of casual smiles or playful teasing. This was raw, vulnerable, and burning with need. She crossed the room slowly, every step deliberate, as though she knew exactly what effect she had on me. The floor creaked faintly under her weight, each sound making my pulse pound harder. By the time she reached the bed, my heart was racing so fast I thought she might hear it. "Do you understand?" she whispered, leaning close, her face so near I could feel the warmth of her breath, "how impossible this is for me?" I couldn't answer. My throat was dry, my body frozen under the intensity of her gaze. She didn't wait for my response. Instead, she sat beside me, her hand brushing against mine again, firmer this time, more certain. The heat from her touch spread through me like fire. Her fingers slid slowly up my arm, sending shivers across my skin. I turned to her, and suddenly the space between us vanished. Our foreheads almost touched, our breaths mixing, both of us teetering on the edge of something neither of us could take back. And then, her hand cupped my face, pulling me closer. My entire body trembled with the weight of the moment, with the undeniable pull between us. Just as I thought the distance would finally break, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. We froze. My father's voice carried faintly from beyond the door. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide but daring, filled with both fear and desire. She pressed her finger softly against my lips to silence me. And then, with a whisper that sent a chill racing down my spine, she said, "Don't move." The doorknob rattled. The doorknob rattled once, twice, and my breath caught in my throat. Her hand pressed firmly against my lips, her eyes locked on mine with urgency. Every second felt like forever, the silence sharp and unbearable. Then, as quickly as it came, the sound faded. His footsteps retreated down the hall. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last, because the moment the danger passed, she didn't let go. Instead, her hand stayed, warm and unyielding, her thumb brushing against my cheek with deliberate tenderness. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice trembling but fierce. "I can't keep pretending anymore." Her words sank into me like lightning, setting everything alight. "Pretending what?" I whispered back, desperate for her to say it, terrified of what it meant. She hesitated only a heartbeat before leaning closer, her forehead pressing to mine. "That I'm happy with him. That I don't think of you every night when I close my eyes." The confession ripped the air apart. My chest tightened, my pulse thundered so hard it hurt. For a moment, I thought I had misheard her, but the fire in her gaze told me otherwise. She meant every word. The room tilted, reality blurring with desire. I couldn't stop myself anymore. My hand slid to hers, holding it against my face, clinging to the truth she had just unleashed. "You can't," I began, but the words died in my throat. Because in that instant, she closed the distance. Her lips brushed mine, not fully, but enough to ignite every nerve in my body. A spark, reckless and undeniable, that shattered everything I thought I knew. And then, the bedroom door flung open. We both jerked back, eyes wide with panic. My father stood there, framed in the doorway, his expression unreadable at first, until it hardened. The silence that followed was worse than shouting. His gaze flicked between us, lingering on the closeness we couldn't hide, the flushed faces, the trembling breaths, her hand still tangled with mine. "What's going on here?" His voice was low, dangerous, thick with suspicion. I couldn't speak. Neither could she. The air crackled with tension, heavy with everything unsaid. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, not fear of him, but fear of losing everything. And yet, beneath the fear, there was something else. Defiance. She rose slowly, stepping between us, her body shielding me. "It's not what you think," she said carefully, but her voice betrayed her, too soft, too unconvincing. He narrowed his eyes, jaw clenched, and in that moment I knew the truth couldn't stay buried. Something had been broken, something that could never be fixed. And this was only the beginning. The silence after the door burst open was unbearable. My father's stare pierced through the room, heavy and accusing. He didn't need proof, the scene spoke for itself. Her hand was still inches from mine, my breath unsteady, her cheeks flushed with the kind of truth that couldn't be hidden. He stepped further into the room, his voice sharp, controlled, but trembling with rage. "What is this?" She stood quickly, placing herself between us, her back to me. It's not, she began, but her words faltered. The weight of his gaze crushed her, yet she lifted her chin, defiance flickering in her eyes. It's not what you think, she tried again, but even I heard the lie in her voice. He let out a bitter laugh, low and broken. Don't insult me. I can see it. His jaw tightened, the silence that followed more dangerous than anger itself. I rose slowly, my legs unsteady, my chest aching with fear and shame. Dad, please, don't, he cut me off, his tone final, the kind of voice that ended arguments before they began. His eyes never left her, though. You. Of all people. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't look away. You stopped seeing me a long time ago, she said softly, her voice trembling but honest. You stopped hearing me. I became invisible in this house. The words hit him like a blow. He staggered back slightly, his anger colliding with the truth he didn't want to face. His fists clenched, but his eyes betrayed something else, guilt. And what? He asked, his voice breaking. So you turned to her? His gaze finally flicked to me, and the sting of his disappointment burned deeper than any anger could. I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, my hands shook. But she reached back blindly, finding my hand, holding it firm even as the world around us fell apart. Her voice steadied. I didn't plan this. I didn't expect it. But she made me feel alive again. The confession shattered the room. My father's face went pale, his silence louder than a scream. For a long moment, no one moved, the air thick with the weight of choices that could never be undone. Finally, he stepped back toward the door, his voice low and raw. Both of you, get out. Her grip on my hand tightened. She looked back at me, her eyes wet but fierce, like she had already made her choice. And without another word, she pulled me with her, out of the room, down the hall, away from the man we had just betrayed. The door slammed behind us, the sound echoing like the end of one life and the beginning of another. The night air outside was cool against my skin, a sharp contrast to the storm still raging inside me. We had left everything behind in that slammed door, the confrontation, the heartbreak, the anger. My chest ached, but her hand never let go of mine. She held it tightly, as though letting go would mean losing everything we had just risked. We walked in silence for a while, the gravel crunching under our feet, the moonlight casting a silver glow over the empty street. My thoughts were tangled, my emotions raw, but every time I looked at her, I found something that steadied me. Her eyes, though red from tears, still burned with a kind of determination I had never seen before. Finally, she stopped walking and turned to face me. Her hands rose to cradle my face, her touch gentle, grounding. I know what I've done can't be erased, she whispered, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. But I don't regret this, us. You've given me back something I thought I lost forever, the chance to feel, to love. Her words broke through the weight pressing down on my chest. My throat tightened, but this time with something warmer than pain. I leaned into her touch, closing my eyes for a moment, letting her presence calm the chaos inside me. When I opened them, she was watching me, not with guilt, not with doubt, but with tenderness so strong it made me forget everything else. Slowly, I closed the distance, and our lips finally met in a kiss that carried all the fear, all the longing, and all the love we had held back for too long. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't reckless. It was soft, steady, the kind of kiss that promised something real. The world around us melted away, leaving just the two of us under the quiet glow of the night. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine, her breath warm against my skin. No matter what happens next, she whispered, I want to face it with you. And in that moment, I knew the chaos, the heartbreak, the risk, it was all worth it. Because what we had wasn't just forbidden. It was undeniable. It was ours. The night stretched endlessly before us, uncertain but full of possibility. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid. Together, hand in hand, we walked forward into the unknown, not as two people bound by secrets, but as two hearts choosing each other despite everything.